everyone, my name is Bree from 1134 Press, where we share bookmaking, journaling, and papercraft inspiration to help you document your life. And today I decided to do a Ask Me Anything video because I smashed my finger. So I can't do the typical crafting extravaganza that I normally do because I have this ugly little blue splint on it, and I don't think you want to see my bruised, blistered finger. So I asked you all questions on the Facebook group, Instagram, as well as here on the community tab. If you had any questions that you want me to answer. When I look at them, I kind of broke them into 3 different categories: personal questions, journal related questions, and YouTube/businessy questions. Hopefully you find this video entertaining. I'm also using it as an excuse to do editing styles that I love on other people's channels that are outside of the crafting genre. So you'll see some things like this and some random memes sprinkled throughout. I'm so excited to be here! I got my laptop here, and I'm probably gonna have to go and get some water. I don't have any, or some tea, but we are just gonna jump right into these questions, and we're gonna start with the personal ones. So the first question is, do I have any pets, and what are their names? I do have a pet. His name is Vader. Aww. He is a little black cat that you'll see running in the background of a lot of my videos. What type of work do you do outside your home? So I am a visual merchandiser for a fashion retailer here. I have been in retail since I entered the workforce at 18. It's a hard job, but I really like it. It's probably the most creative job that you can have in a retail setting, of making the store look beautiful and appealing, and I enjoy it. But of course, I'd rather spend all of my time crafting and making videos for you. The next question is, do you have other hobbies besides paper and DIYs? I love writing fiction, specifically short stories. I actually got an MFA in creative writing and publishing arts, where my thesis project was to write and produce a book of short stories. That is something that I'm passionate about. I don't write as much as I should because all of my free time is really spent on making videos and crafting, and that's really where a lot of my creative energy has been pulled to, and I'm okay with that. I think journaling and bookmaking is just another form of storytelling that I really enjoy and is immediate. Writing stories takes a long time and it's a lot of hard work, and I think after doing that for so long in a really intense setting, I felt like I needed a little bit of a break from it. Next question is, how do you find time to be creative? This is kind of a tough question. I mean, I did make a whole video about how I carve out time to be creative, but more importantly, I think being creative isn't something that you necessarily turn on and off. Like, it's not really a task to cross off. I think being creative is a way of life, a way of seeing things, a way of experiencing things. I have to block out specific time to do things in my journal and to make books, but I think that I've trained myself on how to embrace creativity as just part of like who I am and in everything that I do.
Okay, whatever that means.
And I think if you step back and think about the way that you've moved throughout your life as a creative person, you do the same thing too. You're probably one of the quirkier people of your family and friend group.
I'm like quirky.
If you're into junk journaling and creative writing. That is my really long roundabout way of answering that question. This is gonna be a long video if I keep doing this, so let's move on. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? That's a really big question. Honestly, I see myself doing this. I see myself continuing to make journaling content and hopefully inspiring other people to be creative in their everyday life. I see it on a larger scale than this. I mean, right now I am recording on my phone and I shared in one of the blog posts on Buy Me a Coffee my setup for my lighting. So I see that in the next 5 years I will have a better hold on video making and storytelling through this medium, and hopefully it will be my full-time job, which is such a weird thing to say. Like, who aspires to be a YouTuber? One of the questions are, how old are you? I am 28. So I grew up with YouTube. I don't think it is uncommon for a young millennial like myself, well, youngish millennial like myself, to have those type of aspirations. But I do also want to continue to teach. I had this awesome opportunity to teach at a university. That was such an amazing, incredible experience. And I want to take that and make courses that are accessible to everyone, so you don't have to pay thousands and thousands of dollars to learn how to hand make books. Essentially, that is where I see myself in 5 years: a course creator and video content creator. The next question is, do you have training in art or design, writing, or rhetoric? I mentioned that earlier. I am a graduate from an MFA program that specializes in creative writing and publishing arts. So this is a very unique program where it focused not only just the writing aspect, but also how to actually publish, self-publish work, how to run a press and all that jazz. So there were lots of classes that were also design and art focused, not as heavy as I would have liked it to, but you know, when you sign up for programs, you don't really know like exactly how much you would be gravitated towards. Like, I had no idea that I would just be completely enamored with the bookmaking class that I took and the design classes. I guess that's the extent of my training. How old were you when you first got serious about crafting? What captured your attention about journaling? I got serious about creative journaling probably around like 2019, 2018, like right before, you know, doomsday, I guess, coronavirus time. Am I allowed to say that? I don't even know. I feel like you get censored on YouTube when you say the C word. So I had always known that there were people out there that were doing mixed media collages in journals and making these really specialty books. I cannot remember the name of this YouTuber for the life of me, but this is like back in 2011 when I came across this, which inspired me to create this book that I featured in a very extensive flip through of the 7 types of journaling styles that I've kept over the years. I didn't really get back into that until about like 2018, 2019, when I came across bullet journaling. And if you're not familiar with Amanda Rachel Lee, she's kind of like the top of the bullet journaling world in making that a very commercial, or not commercial, but accessible thing for people to do and use as a creative outlet. Once I found her, that kind of just like pushed me into the hashtag rabbit hole of junk journaling, creative journaling. And it wasn't really until like that really big shutdown in like the spring of 2020 where I really relied heavily on journaling every day to kind of keep me sane and to keep me grounded. And then the last of the personal questions, are you married? How did you meet your partner? I am married. I'm married to Gary. You've seen him pop up in a couple of videos here or there. He is the other half of 1134 Press. He manages the website and he'll write the monthly newsletter. And this project actually, and I'm surprised no one asked me what the hell is an 1134 Press and what do you all do? Because the story of 1134 Press is kind of a winding, twisting one. Gary also graduated from the same program that I did, and a requirement for your thesis project is to create a press that your book is published under. And he had already been doing 1134 Comics, which is where he just posts comics that he creates. We just thought, oh, well, we already have this domain for 1134 Comics. Let's just make an 1134 Press. And when we did that, we thought, oh, well, maybe we should just keep making books. So the next project that we did was the baby mama journal, which we made with Brianne Mobley, who is a doula and activist for women's reproductive rights and healthcare for moms. She came to me with this brilliant idea to create a journal with prompts that mothers can do as they're raising their kids and making sure that they're taking the time to be reflective. So that was the second project we did. And then the third one was my thesis book. Did I even answer your question? I don't know. Am I married? Yes. Did you meet your... Okay, I met him at school. And before we get to the journal questions, I need to get a glass of water. Oh, okay. If this was a different time of the day, this would be wine, but this is actually grape juice. My favorite is Pinot Noir, and I'm typically drinking it when I'm crafting. I'm afraid that someone is gonna like fast forward through this and then just see me like throwing back this grape juice and think that it's wine, and then they're gonna be like, oh, Brianna needs help. It's grape juice. YouTube business questions? Sure. How was your first time filming? Did you practice in front of the camera first or tried straight away? I started with Instagram. So I would make short videos for Instagram and experiment with like ideas that way to just get a little bit more comfortable in front of the camera. And it was pretty low stakes because I don't really have a big following. I don't have a big following on Instagram, and back then it was even less. And it was really just like my friends and family that were on there. And they know how weird and goofy I am. So it made me feel less nervous about creating content because I was creating it in a safe space for people that already got me and knew that I was really into journaling and whatnot. But if you go back to those earlier videos, they are cringy, at least to me. It still kind of like blows me that my first video on YouTube is still my most popular video, because when I look at it, I'm like, gosh, if only I knew what I knew now, I could make a better video. So who knows, maybe I will remake that. I kind of already covered this question. How do you make your videos and what equipment do you use? So I use my phone to record. I have a couple of ring lights. Like I have a smaller one that I'm using right now, and then I have a bigger one that kind of just lights up the whole room. Once I got that huge ring light, it's the rainbow RGB ring light, that totally changed the game for me, because before I would have to just wait until it was bright enough, or you know, it was daytime to record because I didn't have any internal light sources. And that was really challenging because, you know, I work a full-time job. Fixing the lighting situation made my workflow a lot easier. For editing, I use InShot to just edit the clips on my phone. It makes it a lot easier for me because I have such a tight schedule to just edit while I'm on my break or while I'm waiting for something. And then once I do the rough edit on my phone, I will import it onto iMovie. I mean, I do have Adobe Premiere, but I haven't taken the time to learn how to use it. So I just use iMovie to edit. So our next question is, if I remember correctly, you shut down your Etsy store. I see other junk journal YouTubers are very entrepreneurial. I'd like to hear more about that. I just want to create for my own enjoyment, but my husband keeps pushing me to sell things. How does someone balance the two? Or how do we talk to our partners about just being creative? That's kind of a tough one. I mean, it seems like your husband wouldn't be asking you to try to sell your things if he didn't see the beauty and value in what you're making. So I guess on the positive side, you're making really great stuff that could probably make you a profit. I guess the question for you is, do you want to sell your things? Because once you do start selling, it becomes less fun. Work is not fun. So if that is more important to you, then I think just expressing that to your husband in a clear and thoughtful way, he'll probably back off. I mean, I hope so. I don't know him. I hope he would understand. And that kind of just makes me think too, or like some conversations that I've been having with other friends that are kind of in like the creative entrepreneurial sphere about like how we sometimes feel pressured to commodify everything that we do. It's really the fault of social media to make us feel like, you know, we need to profit over every aspect of our life and personality and talents. But honestly, that's probably something that humans have been dealing with for forever underneath of capitalism, is the kind of the idea that like if what you're doing isn't making money, then what's the point of doing it? And that's really a toxic and dangerous mindset to be in. And most of us, unfortunately, are enslaved by that idea. So I guess like going back to your question, I don't think it's like a you thing or your husband's thing. I think it's just a capitalism thing, and that we've all been conditioned to think that if we do anything, it has to be something that you can make money off of. And if you can't make money off of it, then it's not something that's worth pursuing. So I don't know, maybe putting it to him that way, like you're a free spirit out here and you just want to, you know, take your time and your paper and make beautiful things because it brings you joy, and that is all you need. And he should be able to hear that, right? So the last set of questions are journal questions, and I'm gonna try to get through these a little quickly because there's like about 13 of them. So I'm gonna shorten my answers, or at least try to, because I feel like I've been talking for an eternity and I've already finished all of my grape juice. First question is, what do you enjoy using for journaling? So if I'm not mistaken, this question is about ephemera. I like to collect old books. Before the book thing shut down in Baltimore, that was a place where I would get really old, damaged books and use images and pages of it to collage. I also like recycling packaging. Sometimes I'll buy patterned paper, but most of the time, most of the papers that I have are just like, I don't know, they just like come into my possession somehow. Like people just cleaning out their craft rooms or being like, oh, Brianna, you want this?
What's all that stuff you're grabbing?
Tools! Tools! Duct tape, zip ties, and gloves! I have to have my tools!
I also really like using like store-bought and specialty ephemera. So it's really just a mishmash of a lot of stuff. I will say a lot of the things that are like true junk and like reclaimed materials are the things that I use for like the base layers of a lot of my projects. So whether that be the actual pages of a junk journal or the first layer on a journal entry, things that are a little bit more like, you know, specialty mass-produced type things are the things that like I kind of like put on top of that. What are your favorite things about junk journaling? So I guess my favorite thing about junk journaling is trying to tell a story with things that don't go together. I think of junk journaling kind of as like a puzzle, pulling on different crafting techniques, materials to try to create a cohesive idea or express an idea is really attractive to me. The same way that writing fiction is attractive to me, and that you're trying to pull all of these different elements to tell one story in a cohesive and entertaining way. How did you get into bookmaking and junk journaling? I think I mentioned this before. I will say though that the first artist that I came across that really like captured me was Mia Vibes on Instagram. I've made a couple of videos of making ephemera inspired by her. Unfortunately, she passed away in 2020. But you could still go to her Instagram page to see all of the posts that she made. She was a very prolific journaler and really believed in using like packaging and like really scrappy bits to make just really interesting, honest, and beautiful pages and journals. So she would probably be the person that really got me into junk journaling. Okay, the next question is, how did you find your style? Do I have a style? No, I'm just kidding. I guess, I mean, I think my style is still evolving and I still can't really like define it right now. I mean, I do know that like I kind of lean more towards like a minimalist style in comparison to what a lot of people in our community do within their journals and with materials. The way that I've kind of come into that is by just taking note of things that I just naturally like. And I guess it's just trying to expose myself to as many different types of journaling and aesthetics that there are. I'm back, but with real wine. Guys, my finger is so jacked up. Like, I would show it to you, but I might get flagged for like showing gore. But anyway, next question. Can you recommend any paper crafters you are into? So I already mentioned Mia Vibes. I freaking am obsessed with Sky Bambi on Instagram. She just is on a whole other world with what she creates. And it's just so, if you like vintage aesthetics, I would definitely recommend checking out Sky Bambi. And I'm obsessed with Danny Barbara on Instagram. She takes a lot of traditional bookmaking skills and like flips it on its head and creates like really incredible, beautiful projects. She is in Brazil, so she speaks Portuguese. She teaches classes, and if I knew Portuguese, like I would sign up for that class, like all of her classes, because what she creates is so incredible. So I would definitely check her out. I mean, you can still learn a lot from her page, even if you don't know what she's saying. If you don't know Portuguese, I guess that is a reason to learn some. The only Portuguese I know is Oi, como você está? Was that good? I don't know. Anyway. Do you ever find yourself obsessing over quantity rather than quality with your journals? For example, filling up a journal really fast just to see the completed product, rather than having thoughtful entries that took time to compile into a completed journal. And if so, what do you do about it? Yeah, I don't really have this problem. Filling up a journal isn't really like a thing that ever inspires me to continue to create within a journal. So in your example, you say, for example, filling up a journal really fast just to see a completed project, rather than having thoughtful entries that took time to compile into a completed journal. The word thoughtful is really subjective. I guess my question to you would be, well, what do you want from your journal? Because for some people, collaging with images is meaningful and thoughtful to them. So, I mean, I guess if you are being intentional with each page, no matter if what you wrote on one page was ate a ham sandwich today, or you write out like a really harrowing truth about yourself or an epiphany that you had about life and the existence of it, I don't think within a journal that like one is more important than the other. I think it all comes down to perspective. I would say that as long as you are consistently journaling, or as long as you are journaling and taking that time to engage with your creativity, then it's all thoughtful. It all matters. I hope that was helpful. I don't know. I switched to white wine, so you know. We shall see how the rest of this video goes. My mouth is getting tired from talking so much. I never talk this much. Okay, next question. Do you finish one project before starting another? Yes. I don't like to do multiple projects at one time because one project already has multiple projects within it. However, I do have a very extensive notes list of all the projects that I want to complete. How do you organize unfinished projects? So as I said before, I do kind of just finish projects.
Weird flex, but okay.
If I don't finish it, then it's probably because I won't ever go back to it. For example, let's see if I can find So for example, last April, which was National Poetry Month, I started doing this thing where I was making individual signatures to kind of remember or to, I don't know, capture poetry that I was really in love with at the time. And it was my thoughts that I was going to make like maybe like 5 signatures that had pockets and like tags and all that stuff within them, and then sew them together into one book. But after I made this first signature, I didn't want to go back to it. So I just keep this on my shelf with my other journals that are full and completed. And who knows, maybe this April I will go back to make another signature. And maybe the next year I'll make another one, and I'll just keep doing it every year, every National Poetry Month, and create a junk journal signature until I have enough where I can bind it into a journal. Or this will just end up living on my shelf forever, and one day I will come across it and I'll be like, oh, this is so cool. Let me rip this apart and put it into a different journal. Okay, next question. What are different ways to combine journal writing with images on the same page? This one is kind of a big question, and it's also a really awesome question that I would like to just create a whole video on. So I'm gonna pocket that one because I think to articulate the ideas that I have, I would want to have like examples. I will say though, when I am planning a page, I do like to plan out the white space first before I start gluing things down and whatnot, because then I'll know, okay, this is the space that I'm going to use for writing. When you have a new idea for creating a new journal, do you create an outline planning each signature? It depends on what project I'm doing. Some may require that I plan out each signature. Having prompts or a goal for your journal and have that like written down and explicit will help keep you organized in the flow of your journal. If this is a journal that you kind of want to use to just like do kind of daily journaling, but you want like a specific theme and vibe throughout the journal, then starting off with a list of prompts that you want to use. And actually a lot of the ladies on the 1134 Press Facebook group have just started this prompt jar trend that is freaking awesome. If y'all are not part of the Facebook group, definitely do that. Like there's the ladies over there are awesome. And I keep saying ladies because there are no gentlemen there, but maybe I should stop using gendered language. I don't know. Anyway, the people over there are doing this awesome thing of creating a jar of prompts that they can use throughout the year for their journaling. So that might be something that you may want to do, is collect a list of prompts that will help with making the journal feel consistent and cohesive. Has creating your art space around helped with your motivation and joy when creating? Second, I am a more mature creative, but I love so many aesthetics and equate them to youthful people. Example, cottagecore. So when I dress my own creative space to inspire my creativity, I feel like I'm trying too hard. I know that this probably sounds confusing and silly, but I feel like I hold back on embracing my own creative style because of my perceptions of what people think. Do you ever feel that people's opinions hold you back from expressing yourself? Man, there's a lot of questions in this question, but it's such a good one. Okay, so for the first part of the question, I just recently redid my space and shared it with you all on the last video. Changing the furniture and reorganizing has definitely made me like feel more just like in my zone. That is important, but it's not necessary to, you know, do the things that you want to do. For instance, before we moved to this house, we were living in the apartment, and my craft space was literally just a little like fold out like TV dinner table that I would use in like our common space. And then once I like started getting more materials and needed to like expand a little bit, I moved my desk out into the living room, and it is my house. So of course, like it's going to feel like home and be comfortable and reflective of me. It still never felt like, this is a space of my own. However, I still, made journals, still collage daily, still did the dang thing while aspiring to have a place that feels comfortable for you is nice. It's not a necessity. The next part of your question, I love so many aesthetics and equate them to youthful people. So when I dress my own creative space to inspire my creativity, I feel like I'm trying too hard. So you specifically named cottagecore, and cottagecore is literally like all old people stuff. Like, and I don't mean that in like a derogatory way or anything, but like cottagecore, like that's the way that like our grannies used to, dress and find pleasure in. So it's like a recycling of styles and aesthetics that were, around, I don't know how old you are, but pretty sure it's before like your time. So definitely lean into it. Like, especially something like cottagecore, don't feel away about that at all. Get your little mushrooms, get your little baskets and dried flowers and all those lovely things that are, part of that aesthetic, and dress your space. There's so many moments in life where people will tell you, you can't do a certain thing or you shouldn't be a certain way. I try really hard to not bring that into my house, into my space, in the place that I pay a mortgage in the place that I bust my ass and work really hard to be in. I'm gonna dress it and make it comfortable for me because my name is on the deed here, okay? I mean, of course, like I'll take an input from Gary, because I don't want him to feel like, this isn't his house. But you know how that goes. Do the things that make you happy, as long as you're not hurting anyone. Dressing a table with doilies is not hurting anybody. Next question. What's the best piece of advice you've received, either crafting or just in general? Who do you admire and why? I wish I could remember if this was a quote or if this was advice that I was given. I don't know. But what I do know is it's something that I learned from being in a writing workshop, and it's that every aspect of the story, be it punctuation that you use, the sentence that you use, your word choice, plot devices, character, all of that, all of those very tiny elements are all working together to tell one single lie. And if any mechanism of the story pulls you out of the lie, then it's something that you either need to rework or revisit. I guess kind of with that like understanding of storytelling, I kind of apply that to everything in my life. Not that like my life is a lie, but like, it's everything is a story. Even like what I do for my day job as a visual merchandiser, just the smallest little choice of, what I put on a mannequin or the way that I block the fixturing on the floor, it creates a feeling and experience for the customer. And it's the same thing with storytelling, and it's the same thing for your journals, like the type of papers that you use, the binding style that you use, what you put inside of the journal. All of those very tiny choices create a bigger picture, a bigger narrative. Once I realized that, or kind of like came to that understanding, it like really like unlocked something within me. Here's a quote that kind of summarizes that. The way you do one thing is the way you do everything. And I think we can extrapolate from that quote to support kind of like, I guess, that idea that I was having. Okay, so who do I admire and why? I really, really admire my big sister, who is an entrepreneur and artist at heart. She is one of the first people that I've ever met in my life who found a way to express herself artistically and also support herself from that. You know, they say like representation is really important. Having that within my family and seeing her work really hard to create her business and see success from it just was really inspiring to me. Okay, and the last question, what junk journal plans do you have for 2022? This almanac diary is happening. That is my plan for so far for this year. And if you don't know what that is, if you're new to this channel and you're just coming on to here, I have a couple of videos where I talk about the inspiration of it. And if you follow the blog on Buy Me a Coffee, then you know where I am right now in the process of that whole ordeal. So I'm not going to rehash it, but Almanac Diary is happening. You can head on over to Buy Me a Coffee to learn more about that if you are interested, or watch these videos that are linked in the cards. But aside from that, I really want to journal more with photography. And I also want to incorporate more stories that are less about me and less reflection on me, and more about like my family and other people, or maybe even just instances and occurrences in the world or history. I think this almanac diary might be the last project that I do that is solely focused on myself and the way that I experience life and all that, and move more outward. So no promises, because you never know who or what will, you know, shake that up. But I definitely see the last half of 2022 to be more about documenting other people's stories. So yeah, that was a lot. This is probably going to be the longest video that I've ever uploaded onto this channel. So I hope you all enjoy this. Brought to you by my overzealousness at work to crush my little finger. So thank you everyone who submitted questions. I think I answered all of them. If I didn't, I'm sorry. Maybe I will do another Ask Me AMA, Ask Me Anything video if you guys like this. Yeah. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Check out Buy Me a Coffee. I am posting more content there, more kind of insights into my artistic process as I work through this new project that I'm taking on. And yeah, I will see you in the next video. Bye.